I actually okay. So I want to get your take in particular on this Cloud9 move, because it's actually confirmed now that Inters is out and Buster is in, and it feels like this was a bit of a divisive move. You know, some people were saying good move, other people weren't. So I'm curious to. I'm sure you've probably talked about this on like Snake and Manta or
A
something.
little bit, only a little bit. Hasn't been super discussed as a move.
But I'd be curious on hearing your thoughts on this particular topic, because it feels like I mean, at a glance, it seemed like Inters wasn't the problem. But what do you have a different take on that?
No, basically, I think Inter's got scapegoated. Like, the one problem Inter's had, and this is justifiable, to be fair, his absolute worst tournaments in his career so far on LAN have basically been all the majors, unfortunately, right? That will hurt because people are going to, like, think about it. If you're a team like Cloud9 who still hasn't done anything at a major, the best they did was a top 8 once, you are still going to always think of that as the big moment. Like, that's what everything feels like it's building into. So even though, to me, like, they've had a lot of good LAN placings and made, like, playoffs, and they've won IEM Dallas and been in position in other tournaments to go semis. Even though to me they've done very well, they're obviously scrutinizing. Someone has to be blamed for how this year went because they didn't have the results. The problem, I think, is this. In my opinion, if anyone was going to get booted, it's either Hobbit because his form went down, or it's Nafani for not doing a very good job IGLing. Instead, somehow, because he's the guy who has the worst stats, Inters has to get booted as though it was fucking 2005 Semmler, and this was like HLTV forums going like, remove the low fragging guy and add the high fragging guy of our rival, like the most fucking noob level. But what's mad is they've done that in this team, because here's what I don't get. Do people forget? The rumors of the Buster move was like, maybe he joins Na'Vi or something. You remember that? That was last year, there was a rumor. The point is, he wouldn't be doing it to be like the fucking support or some shit role like Inter's played. So the reason I don't get this move is this. They've added a player who's better at fragging, but doesn't seem like he's going to do the same roles at all. So the reason I hate it is Inters basically was like Perfecto. They put him as sort of like at times a hard support / anchor type guy who just stays alive in the site while the others rotate around and you delay the... He just did that stuff. So the only problem I have is I think not only have you scapegoated him, I don't really know that he like kicked himself out by playing super bad. He had a couple of bad tournaments. I think essentially you punished him for how other people played badly but had bigger names. And then the worst part for me is I just don't know if this is the right move to even make you better. Like, it might let you frag more, but I don't know what's going to do to the team structure. Because to me, one of the best things about Cloud9 was when they were on their game, they actually seemed to have good chemistry. Like they were quite a tight-knit group. As I always say, even though you might have 4 or 5 players, one player changing can completely change the chemistry of a team. You never know. Sometimes it just ruins the whole thing. So I'm kind of I'm like a little bit skeptical. I don't think it was a terrible move, but I'm a bit skeptical it's actually going to like do whatever they hope it will. Like, I don't think this takes them to the top of the scoreboard or whatever they hope, you know.
It's one of those things. I mean, the one of the questions is going to be whether or not Nafani has to then switch up his role and try to fill some of those gaps, yeah. And then you can see a dip in his performance further, because you know not only are you going to be calling, but if you have to play a different role, this is going to get real hectic real fast. But also you can have that kind of second guess snowball effect that just you start questioning, and instead of actually finding a solution quickly and moving on, or making very small changes that you can track whether they worked or not, you make a big change like a roster move. That's such a big change, and then you can't go back on that change. It's not like you can roll that back and start working your way back from there. It could very well accelerate into the whole team falling apart, especially given how long this team's been together. Could very well be the end. So it's clear that Cloud9 are trying to make moves. They really are a team that expect big results for considering the investment that they're probably making in CSGO.
I do think, though, by the way, as an aside, that Buster is a good player, though. Like, when they were way back in the day, long before they had Yakinda, when they were that Vanguard team that went to the major final, and it was like Kicker, fucking Adren, James, Buster, Sanji was the lineup, if you remember. I did think on that lineup, even though everyone used to praise the fuck out of James, I actually used to think on that lineup Buster was the best player. Like, he actually did have a pretty good rifle back then. And I will say, he is to this day 23 years old. So he's not that old. Like, big point to make. He's still got a bunch of years under it. Like, in theory, he shouldn't be burned out at all. So it could work out. We'll see. We'll see on that one. It's just, as I say, I feel like you're going to have to... Oh, he hasn't played in ages. They're going to have to completely reformulate the team, though.
He's still young. He'll have had a lot of time to get his head straight. Kazakhstani as well, so he doesn't necessarily come with all the geopolitical baggage that you had before as well with the Russian Ukrainian side of things. If you're trying to pick up one of those players, so it feels like there should be things that can work here. It's just a question of whether or not that's really what I wanted to get to the bottom of, is whether or not we feel like Inter's got scapegoated or not, because it did feel like he kind of got done dirty a little bit there. Well, I mean, obviously we're going to see how that pans out because it's going to be a little bit though. They're not playing at Blast, Blast Spring, so it's going to be a Katowice kind of move. So we'll see if it pans out for them there.
Here's what's brutal as well. This is where it also sucks if you're Inter's dude, because since he is Russian, he doesn't have a choice to go to Na'Vi or go to fucking some other teams. I don't even know where he goes. Like, does he just disappear from the scene now and go to some nobody team? Or does he have to go and play for like Forza or something? What the fuck's going to happen now? You know?
I mean, he's Nafani tweeted earlier that he's streaming, so he's probably just going to try and stream and make that kind of thing work. The funny thing is that
the only problem with that one is like, let's just be
player on a even a support player on a tier 1 team is still going to rock the shit out of most people. So he could still have an entertaining stream.
Yeah, you say that though, but who the fuck's going to watch?
You know yeah, exactly.
That would be like if like Smith's is streaming, it's like
learn the best flashes.
Listen, mate, unless everything else on Twitch goes down, I'm not going to be clicking. Sorry. You know. What do you want? Yeah.
See more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or be a pleb and don't.